And the other day we ran a live session that gave people 5 ways to up the energy in your virtual meetings and your virtual workshops by being a little bit lazy. So let me show you how that session went. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I've talked a lot about virtual facilitation. So no, it is not too late to get into remote facilitation. If you are a facilitator, you're struggling a bit right now, this is the perfect time to do so. Right now, a lot of people are working online. We don't know where the situation is going in terms of COVID-19. And even if the virus somehow, if it goes down, we all open up again, it's unlikely we're gonna go back to a traditional workplace. It won't be the same as what it was before. And chances are a lot more people will be working in a virtual setting than ever before. Now, of course, a lot of people have taken everything they did in a physical setting and have just turned it into something that's online, something that's virtual. Taking the same rules and the same principles in a physical setting and just basically put a webcam on it and started doing that online. The challenge, of course, is that the virtual world has different rules from the physical world. It's just going to be different. So what it needs is a rethink. It needs different frameworks. It needs different structures, different tools, and different skills to make your work online. And I'm super stoked to be working with Leanne Hughes from the First Time Facilitator podcast. She facilitates like I do, not quite innovation per se, but we have a lot in common. She invited me to be in a podcast. We started chatting and we said, shall we do a collaboration? Shall we co-create something together? And we've put together a super duper learning program called Virtually Possible, which gives everybody the tools, skills, and confidence to facilitate in a virtual setting. Some of the things will be the same as in the physical setting, but a lot of things will have to be changed. There's a lot of reframing, there's some new techniques, there's some new ways of looking at it so you can be prepared for a future of virtual facilitation. And the other day we ran a live session where we gave people 5 ways to up the energy, up the engagement in your virtual meetings and workshops by being a little bit lazy. Have a look.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for jumping over from YouTube onto Zoom. We really wanted to stream on on YouTube for all of you. Had some really cool stuff planned, but that's why you have a plan B option. Thank you so much, Gay. Yeah, the tea's pretty cool. Prina, great to see you. Prina was a guest on the First Time Facilitator podcast. Yuri, have we got you there?
Well, I'm here. I just cannot start my video. You need to make me a host. You can't start your video because your host has stopped it.
I've got all the power. All right,
yeah,
making
you
you
do.
co-host now.
As per usual.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we've got 16 of you. Thank you so much for jumping over and for reintroducing yourselves. Best laid plans, absolutely. Catherine, so we tested out this technology on Tuesday, yesterday, and today. And the second we hit live, yeah, look what happens. But hey, it's so good to have you here. Martin, thank you for joining us all the way from Germany. It's so great to see some familiar names. Yuri, great to see you as well. Thank goodness you're here.
Yeah, we might as well, right? We had this little, we were so ready for it, and last minute technology just let us down. That's how that goes.
All right, well, what we might do is we'll wait a few more minutes for everyone to arrive from YouTube. I might post another comment in there, just directing traffic.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, so first of all, we got the first question was, where are you dialing in from? The second question is, growing up as a kid, what was your favorite children's story? What was your favorite children's story growing up as a kid? Let us know. And thank you so much for the Plan B comments. We love you guys. Yuri, what was your favorite story?
One of my favorite stories was when I was very young. We used to have a big snake in our garden, the longest snake in the Netherlands, and it was a yellow snake. Because in the Netherlands, the word for snake is the same as the word for hose. So clearly it was a water hose. But for years, my uncles and my brother and my sister would tell me that in the back of our garden would be this massive 25-meter yellow snake. And we'd go look for it, with a stick in my hand. And they made up all kinds of stories around it. And it wasn't until like 25 years later I realized there's no such thing as a yellow snake. Terrible. People made fun of me that way. What's yours?
I guess mine would be, I'm just going to pop this back. So we've got some comments here. Thanks for the adaptability calls. Chris, g'day from Canberra. It must be freezing down there. Tom from the Gold Coast, great to see you. Enid Blyton, love her. Okay, my favorite is a story by the Grimm brothers. I mean, they do all of the fairy tales, right? A story called The Elves and the Shoemaker. If you know that one, just write elves in capital letters. The Elves and the Shoemaker. And the reason why I loved it, and they actually say when you're looking at your passion in your career, think about books that you enjoyed. And so this is the reason I love The Elves and the Shoemaker, is because it's a story of, Suzanne, you know it. There's a really poor shoemaker in Germany. He's only got enough leather to make a pair of shoes. So he cuts them up, but he's feeling pretty disheartened. So he goes to sleep. And while he's, going to bed, he's thinking, I wish life was so much better. He puts some prayers out. He wakes up the next morning and there's a pair of beautifully stitched shoes. It's like, how did this even happen? And what happens is he sells that, and then he ends up making more money. Now at night, he's got a pair of elves that are actually stitching these shoes. It's a fairy tale. And why I love that story is because it really describes what I think lazy is all about when it comes to what you and I are talking about, Yuri. It's not about going to sleep and drinking mojitos in your Zoom meetings. It's all about designing something. So cutting out that shoe, the sole of the shoe, designing it in such a clever way that you can let it go, let your participants bring the magic and be the elves, and then you create something beautiful together. So that's why I love it.
Well, togetherness, that's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, because we've talked about this before. I think for many people, if you're facilitators out there, by the way, I'm seeing like Greece, I'm seeing Vellore, Tamil Nadu, I've seen Athens, I've seen Hong Kong, Seattle. There you go, fantastic. People from all over the world. If you're facilitating, one of my big learnings is, so I've been facilitating for 10, probably 15 years. My big realization is it's teamwork. It's not just you pulling that entire cart. And Leanne and I have been talking about this for a while now. There is a way to just involve people more in the process. And it's a bit more what we're going to be talking about here in this session. But you don't have to take on everything yourself, right? You can do this with other people around you. So with that in mind, let me just also be mindful of people's time. I'm going to set a timer. So I'll be like timekeeper on this side. Yeah. We said 43 minutes. We've already used up a couple. So I'm going to put it to 39 minutes because we want to be respectful of your time. Yeah.
Let's go. Quick intro. Leanne Hughes, first time facilitator podcast, based in Brisbane. Love traveling the world, running workshops, currently running workshops from the 2x2 office at home. How about you, Yuri?
My name is Yuri, full-time Dutch. I live in Singapore, lived in China for 15 years. I'm trained an interpreter, translator Mandarin. I never did anything much with that besides living in China. I have an innovation agency called The Magic Source. We work on innovation projects, and I make videos about the stuff we learn on these projects around strategy and insights and ideas, etc. So that was a little bit about us. We'd like you to join us in this session because we talked a bit about stories just now, but at the same time, it's also important to understand, like I just said, it's all about working together. So it'd be great if you guys can interact. Like I said, in this case, we've got a chat on the right. We're going to keep up with it as much as we can. Multitasking, by the way, it's always good to do this with somebody else, just so you know, because there's a lot going on. So at any point, shout out your questions, shout out your comments in the chat. So if you want to give that a go now, make sure it's working. Some people already have. If you can just put a big hello with a question mark behind it, hello question mark. If you put that in the chat right now, then I know that it's working. Fantastic. Hello.
Yeah, fantastic.
Is it
hello.
me you're looking for? I'm not going to sing.
Keep
but
singing.
That's what it's all about. Interactive session. Thank you for doing that quick test. Let's talk a bit about elephant in the room. I get invited to many webinars, and everybody says they have a free webinar, and that annoys me a little bit because I know most of the time they either want to sell you something, want to drag you into some kind of funnel or something. So my heads up here is we have a product that we're working on that we will talk about before the end of this session. And I want to be respectful of that. I want to be honest about it. So we're going to be talking about it because we think it's awesome and we think it's something that makes the world a better place. At the same time, I don't want to be covert about it. So we'll talk about it later on. If you like what we're doing in the next couple of minutes, you're probably going to like the program. But let's get into the 5 things, right? We got 5 things that we need to talk about, 5 ways to up the energy. Is that what we're doing?
We're doing it, and we're doing it in a lazy way. Now, number one, this is not, it's a pretty obvious one. We've heard this on podcast videos, everyone's saying we need to get participants to move around. The interesting thing is, and please let us know in chat if you're observing it, people are saying that we need to move around, but I'm still not seeing a lot of movement. Now, we all know why movement is important. If you're sitting down and you're sedentary, it's pretty much you can see your battery levels drop really quickly. So what are some ways that you can get people to move? Now, I'm going to steal an idea from my co-pilot here, Yuri. He's actually better at this than me.
No.
I'm going to bring us into full screen for this.
You're just being humble.
Yeah. So basically, if you're watching this, we can't see you, but put your hands out, your index fingers, and I want you to trace 2 squares for me. 2 squares. Great.
This
and
is
then
already hard.
2 triangles.
Okay. Whoa. Crazy.
Okay. And what's the 3rd step, Yuri?
The 3rd step is very simple. 1 finger, triangle, the other finger, square, simultaneously, or else it's easy. All right, so go nice and slow. Just do this by yourself. Nobody's watching you. I hope nobody's watching you. Maybe you're on the train. Maybe you're sitting somewhere at home and your dog is looking at you like, what are you doing? Am I still doing this right? I think I'm doing this right. So go as slow as you can. Just a simple way to move around, right?
Super easy, super easy. Shake it up.
Easy, exactly.
Now, the other thing, I don't know if Jacinta Cubis, awesome. She runs workshops. So she does things like she'll get people in a WhatsApp group, give them a question and tell them to walk around looking for something, taking photos and sharing those photos in the WhatsApp group. Another simple way to keep moving. Nice. Another thing I did on a strategy session a couple of weeks ago was, if you listen to my podcast, you know that I'm not the most calmest person, but I do appreciate a bit of meditation. But I was thinking, oh, I don't want to have to run a meditation. I'm not skilled in that. I don't think I could slow down enough to do it. So to be a bit lazy, what I did was I asked a friend, she runs a podcast all about meditation. She recorded a visioning exercise for this workshop. And all I did, Yuri and everyone listening, was I was very lazy. I shared my computer audio. I hit play. We turned off our videos and we listened. And that was a way of just bringing in some laziness to that. So pre-record's really helpful. And if you're a trainer in a company and you're running workshop after workshop after workshop, could you potentially pre-record some audio that you can play over similar slides that you are presenting? Just to give yourself a bit more bandwidth. You're still giving the right information, but you're not having to repeat yourself all the time.
Love it. Love it. Super simple. So those are just some moves, right? So just way to move around, either move your body. Some people like to do a bit of a stretch. Meditation, not really me. It might work for other people. It's all cool. They're just principles. So anything that gets people moving, my experience is the moment you get people moving, even just a little bit, people come out of that session or workshop and they go, wow, there was so energetic. I feel much more energized. Yes, because we didn't just sit down and get you to passively look at the screen and things. So those are some really simple things.
And I love that Marie said, share a YouTube video. One video I would recommend sharing,
YouTube,
particularly at the start, Julian Treasure, how to speak so that people want to listen. I believe it's about 6 minutes and 12 seconds in. He does a vocal warm-up. Yeah, how to speak so that people want to listen. Been on the podcast. He does a vocal warm-up exercise. You could play that video at the beginning of your workshop to get everyone to warm up their voice so they feel more confident to interact with your presentation. All right.
Nice.
That's movement. We could go on with that, but Yuri, it's over to you, number 2.
Hey, let's move on. Get it?
Got it.
See what I did there? This is not rehearsed. Let's move on. So next one then is talking teddy. Maybe this is a Dutch thing. I don't know. When I was in kindergarten to teach kids when it's their turn to speak, they would pass on the teddy. Now I don't have a teddy. I've got Elmo over here, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It could be, rubber chicken. It could be a pen. It could be a piece of paper. It doesn't really matter. But the thing is, the talking teddy activity is basically whenever you're holding the teddy or the glass of champagne or whatever it is that you have, it's your time to talk. Now, this does a couple of things. So when you're kids, it just teaches you to wait for your turn. But even with adults, it kind of works the same way. You can do the same thing online. So the reason why we're doing this, because very often in a group setting, there'll be a whole bunch of people either over talking each other, so not really having a conversation, not really listening, everybody's trying to get their say in, or which happens, so I lived in China, I'm in Singapore now, a lot of cultures in Southeast Asia, people will just be a bit more quiet, and the person with the biggest title will usually speak. And what you'll end up with is like 2 people talking, 6 people sitting still. This way you can make sure that everybody gets a say. So you can pass around an object. So whenever you get the object in your hand, it's your turn. You can even pull names out of a hat. So you give people a little task, say, let's talk about company culture. Give them a couple of minutes to think about it and say, then we're going to pull a name out of here, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to just share your thoughts on that topic. And the first person is, I'm going to pick someone from the room. The first person is Kartik, right? Kartik, you get to go first. You give that person some airtime, maybe a minute long, nice and short. And that's basically what this activity is all about. So you can use a physical thing, you can use a non-physical thing, you could have names in a hat, but the whole thing is about make sure that everybody gets a say. Now, one up from that one is if you give them the responsibility. If you're working with a team, I'm part of the team. I've got my Elmo over here. I'm done with my 1 minute chat about the company culture. I'm going to hand it over to Leanne, right? And you can do this in a virtual or a digital setting. It's as simple as that, just to make sure that everybody gets a say and people get the same amount of airtime. Simple as that. Leanne, talking Teddy, Elmo is back in his resting spot.
I don't know where my Elmo's gone. I was looking for my Elmo to pick up, but
I'll send you one. I'll send you one.
Thank you. And we've got some comments here. Eileen's commented about the shirts. So we were thinking, our philosophy.
I hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't going to acknowledge them, but it's something that you can do that just brings in that whole, it's virtually impossible to be in the same room, but we're showing Yuri's in Singapore, I'm in Brisbane. We're still connecting in some way.
I just had an idea. With Elmo, if I can find it, I'm going to send you one, because what we can then do is I can throw it and you can catch it from there.
Well, that's what Ken said. He said you could just send out some swag, which, has your miniature.
Yes.
And it could be your mascot or whatever it is. This is what we love. Kate, awesome with the pen. So this is why we're bringing everyone together and getting you to interact, because you're going to add on ideas to what we have and make it even more amazing. So thank you. Keep it going.
Swag box.
Swag box.
Swag. I like it.
Love it.
Elmo, your swag.
Right. So before we move on to number 3, I thought let's just have some time to see what's going on in the chat. If you've got any questions or comments you'd like to add, please do. Yuri, what's going on in the Twitter feed?
Twitter feed. Well, Donald Trump's on it, clearly. Says he doesn't want to buy my course, but there's some other people that have already bought it. So that's really good. Twitter feed, you guys look amazing. Love your shirts. Did you dye your hair, Yuri? No, I did not dye my hair. This is my natural kind of color. What else do we have? Twitter, hashtag #VPossible. What else do we have? We've got The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, saying hi, sending his love together with Kevin. They're hanging out. And finally, we have Barbara Streisand. Barbara Streisand will be in Singapore next week and wants to hang out for a coffee and ask us more about Virtually Possible. We're going to talk about that later. So about Converse. So I'm a big fan, by the way. I had these shoes when I was very young, and actually my mom never bought me the Converse ones because they were too expensive. So I always got some B brand, like a brand you'd never heard of. But those are my favorite shoes. But this is also kind of the third idea. And just so you know, these are just ideas. They're not set in stone. They're just things for you to play with, I guess. So we talked about moving. We talked about passing on, make sure everybody gets a say. Well, this is about creating better conversations. I think most of facilitation, you can recap in a couple of really good questions. And one easy way, I used to work with clients on a session, I would then always ask at the beginning, what are the 3-4 questions that we need to answer by the end of this hour, this week, this month? And it's kind of what that is. A good question is, by definition, can create a lot of really good energy. So Converse is very simple. It's just about you, or maybe even them, if you want to give them the responsibility, but let's say you as a facilitator, preparing a couple of well thought through questions around either the people, the topic, maybe the industry, or maybe the activity that you're running. And you bring them with you. You just put them in your pocket, you keep them up your sleeve. So that any time you want to be a bit lazy, you want to give them a bit more airtime, but also give them a chance to converse with other people, you throw in a question. You can send them into a group. You pose one clear question, and it's all about being super directive and super clear. And then send them into maybe a chat group. Maybe they go for a walk, and maybe we'll do a WhatsApp call. Maybe we do a WhatsApp chat about that one specific question. When people come back, tell people like, hey, who would like to share back some of the ideas? So Converse is all about preparing a couple of really good questions to make sure you're getting better conversations, You can pull those out at random times, or you can structure them into your session.
Love
right,
that.
Leanne?
Yeah. And I've got just a couple things just to quickly raise before I play off what you've been talking about. Karina's got a good point here. So when you go into chat, if you can select to chat to all panelists and attendees, if it's only all panelists, only Yuri and I can see that. And we want you guys to start talking to each other. So click all panelists and attendees. Danielle's asked for the Twitter hashtag. Now, I just literally threw to Yuri and we invented one. Hashtag virtually possible. So if you're on Twitter or on Instagram and want to take photos, tag us, add commentary, you're more than welcome to. But Dwayne The Rock is not actually tweeting us at the moment.
What?
Now,
Don't tell him.
I've got a question for all of you watching. What are some cool words that link into facilitation or workshops that begin with the letters CO? CO. Coaching, lovely. Coaching, absolutely. There's a word that I always use: confidence, collaboration, collaborate. Does anyone know? Co-create, consider, look at this, CO. Contrast, Maria, thank you, you got it. Yeah, absolutely. So all of these, we got Converse, but I thought we could really spin and riff off that. I mean, look at all the suggestions here. A couple of things I want to suggest. So contrast is really important. That's why Yuri and I are teaming up on this. I think it's really great. A lot of the time when we're running workshops, it's all on us. How can you be a bit more lazy? Bring in a co-pilot. There we go. Co-facilitator. Now, the other one I want to talk about is commands, and being really, really specific with one command at a time, like Yuri said. And when you pop people into breakout rooms, a really cool tool you can add is just say, hey, the person with the shortest hair will go first in answering the question. The person with the longest last name will go first. So a bit more directive while hopping onto a virtual workshop.
Can I add to that one? So really good point. And I think it was Maria, if I saw that correctly. Sorry, but my eyes are getting worse, by the way. I know I look like a young god, but I'm not that young anymore. So Maria says, any tips on creating clear questions? I tend to ramble. It's really helpful for the participants. Basically, that's what Leanne was just talking about, right? It's all about thinking about that one question. So I'll give you a mistake that I used to make. I used to have 2-3 points in one. I would go, okay, guys, go into a breakout room, and I'd like you to talk about the company culture, like what you think about it, or what's not working about it, or maybe like a couple of examples of a great company. Those are like 3, 4, 5 questions in one go. So you can go, we're talking about company culture. Pair up with that person in that chat room. I want you to think about one question. What is a great example that each of you can come up with of either a really good or a bad company culture? Is that clear for everybody? Go. So it's more about thinking through the question and not layering on it too much. Just be very specific. What is like the one question? And then to Leanne's point, pick a facilitator to say like who goes first and who goes second. So being a bit more directive, particularly online, because it's hard to see what they're doing, is really, really useful. So those are Converse great questions. Will just create better conversations. It's an amazing way which you can do. A good question can just open up so many things, right? Yeah, and there's great questions coming through. The other thing, one more thing to add to that, we keep adding here, all of this is unscripted, is when you are asking a question, pop it into the chat as well so people can read it as well as hear it. So that's just another method to help people out. Okay, number 4. Now, this actually came up a question, and if we were on YouTube, I would have shown you the screenshot and done some cool animation. That's all right. We move on. Tony Brazelton put a question out to us, and he says, I use Microsoft Teams, and when I need to share a video, I've got to click all of these different boxes, hide, unhide, and it takes about 20 seconds for me to show a video. There's dead air. It loses its energy. How can I get faster at that? I was thinking about this for a couple of days, and I was reminded of a study, or it might be a myth, another fairy tale, of an Edward de Bono story, where he was working with a company, and basically all of the employees were getting really fed up because they were waiting to get their elevator to their floor, but the elevator was taking about 10 minutes. It was too long. People were really complaining. Morale was dropping. They were looking for solutions. They thought, what can we do about this? Do we move buildings? Do we actually stagger people's work hours? Coming up with really quite complex solutions. The solution that ended up winning, and you might have heard this story before, is they actually installed mirrors on the ground floor. So when people waited,
they could actually look at themselves and the wait didn't seem as arduous. So the 10-minute wait wasn't as long. So when I was thinking of Tony's dilemma, his dilemma was, I need to get faster at this, but I think he's asking the wrong question. I think the question you need to ask is, how can we distract our participants while we're switching between the videos so that they don't recognize that they're waiting that long? So the question I'll throw back to Tony without even a solution, and you might even have it in chat, is what are the distractions that you can give your participants to do while you're figuring things out? Now you do this in face-to-face workshops too. You give people distractions. That's why we call it the pacifier. Yeah.
Cat videos. Like honestly, 500 executive people, really serious men. I just play a cat video and everybody kind of goes, that's kind of cute.
Cat videos, a question, hop onto Google. Danielle has got some stuff here. Think, research, reflect, keep talking, play music, have them answer a question on paper. Look at that. Yep. Look at these solutions. I love it. So the pacifier is like another word for the mirror or the babysitter or the iPad.
Exactly. So a couple of points here in the chat before we move on to the last one. I'm just aware of time. I'm not going to let you know we have 19 minutes. So a couple of things I want to respond to, and you can respond to as well, Leanne. When you send people out into a group with a question, put the question in the chat. Great, so people can read it as well. Makes a lot of sense. How do you get people to keep their cameras on? I get more and more who shut it down. There's a couple of ways I get people to turn on the camera. The easiest way is just to tell them. So literally just tell them. So before you get started, you say, look, this is a big event, but let's assume that you're having some kind of workshop or some kind of meeting, whatever it is. It's important you get people's input. It's already hard because right now you can only see part of my body. What that means is your brain has to fill in information. When the brain does not see a full picture, it needs to fill in information. That's why, for instance, just hearing somebody's voice, you're missing out on what they look like. You're missing out on body language, on expressions. So it's already challenging being in this little box behind the screen. Now, if everybody now in the conversation starts turning off their cameras, well, then it's very hard to see where people are because I have no idea how they're responding. And I'll give you an example. I've had it in the past where we say, cool, so this is the idea then. So we're going to go for the idea. And people are like, yeah, that works. And just by the way they're saying it, I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're not really behind this. You can't have that if you don't see people. So first of all, just tell people in advance, we're going to do this meeting. I need you to turn your camera on. And the second one is, I think once you explain to people why that's important for some of the reasons I just gave, as in, it's already hard to engage with people. It's already very hard to see what's going on. And I don't want to be talking to a group of people who I can't see, particularly if this is a workshop, a conversation where all of us are necessary, which gets me to my last point. If everybody in that group is just attending and just watching, so this is a bit more different because this is more a broadcasting thing. Well, we're talking about when you're facilitating strategy, insights, ideas, decision-making, you need all hands on deck. And if somebody's sitting there being very passive, then I would argue, do they even need to be part of that? So those are just some things. I mean, you figure out what works for you. I'm actually quite strict. I just go turn on your camera or this is not going to work.
I'm a little bit kinder. Maybe it's the Australian.
I know. I know.
So I would actually, a couple of things I would do, agree, you can say it up front, but also I would want to find out what is the barrier. Is it they're not confident? Is it the background? Is it the noise? Is it, there's a lot of different things that are playing out during this time. So maybe it's a one-on-one call with them, just getting them familiar, helping them frame their camera, finding a space, investing that time up front, I think is a good thing. A guy on my podcast I interviewed last week, releasing it in 2 weeks, Kel, he actually, when he invites people in, he gets them into a waiting room and he lets them in one at a time, sets up their camera, sets everything up so they're comfortable before bringing the next person in. It's like a staggered approach to letting people into your workshop. Yeah.
Very cool. And much nicer. Yeah. I just go like, turn on the camera when we're doing this.
Well, we need all the ideas, right? That's why we're collaborating, because we've got different opinions on things. Exactly.
It's good. This collaboration, by the way, with Leanne is really, really, really good. I cannot express this more. If you can find a buddy for stuff like this, because just even from a technical point of view, can you imagine having to do the talking and the slides and look at the chat and respond? It's almost impossible. In an ideal world, we'd even have a third person to just do the tech. If you can invest in that, find somebody who loves to do this, just put out a tender or pay somebody a bit of money. will really make, give you more airtime. Be a bit more lazy, give you more airtime to do the other stuff. Take DJ, that's right.
All right, 5.
Last one, BYO, bring your own. This is the laziest of lazy. I mean, if you do this, it's almost shameful. It's almost shameful how lazy you are here. You're getting paid as a consultant or facilitator or trainer or coach or mentor or whatever you call yourself. And you get them to do half the work by telling them to BYO. So BYO is basically where you're giving participants a chunk, either something to bring into the workshop or things to maybe facilitate or run. So this could be something like energizers and icebreakers. Ask them to prepare one. And you use this talking teddy where you go, we're going to pull a name out of a hat. And after this break, it's John's turn and John's going to be running his energizer. But it doesn't have to be energizers. It could be examples. So imagine we're talking about company culture. Ask people to prepare a 1-minute story of a great company culture and why that was. Can you get them to share case studies? Can you get them to bring some visuals that are necessary? But it's basically asking your participants beforehand to bring stuff in. Now, I joke a bit when I say it's a lazy bit. The good thing, of course, is they are going to put more skin in the game. People have been talking since this working in a virtual setting. People have been talking about flipping the classroom or flipping the meeting room. Well, this is just that. This is that point where you get other people to take more ownership of the content and of the entire experience. And you'd be amazed what that creates because they've got skin in the game and they're no longer just kind of spectators. You're actually drawing them into the game, right?
Absolutely.
BYO.
Yeah.
Bring your own. Get them to bring it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite, when I did a train the trainer back, how many years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, everyone had to bring their own activity and energizer. And you also learn, just get some amazing ideas off that. It's the best way to be lazy.
Nice. I'm going to do a quick chat. We have a little bit more than 10 minutes. Let me just do that quick.
All right, so quick recap.
Okay, just make sure we're not missing any main questions. Good fun to live. Catherine, you've role modeled that with Andrew. Yes. I don't know who they are, but you know who they are.
Story cookbook. Get it.
Right.
Yeah, I'll plug that book actually, Catherine. It's amazing.
Do it.
Yeah. Really great ideas or activities. Over to you, Yuri.
So these are just 5 ideas that we have, 5 ways for you to up the energy, to change the game a bit, and to be a bit lazy by getting them either involved, getting them up and moving. So we talk about moving people around. This could be a stretch. This could be, I saw somebody say YMCA, it could be a dance. If that's what something you want to do, it could be just a simple, we're going to play some music, go walk around, meet us back in a couple of minutes. That's the move. Talking Teddy is all about passing on either a physical or digital object or pulling names from a hat to make sure that everybody gets a say and you focus on one person at a time rather than people talking over each other. Converse is all about getting some really good questions, thought through questions rather than just introduce yourself. You can come up with a better question than that. Come on. So Converse is about getting better questions to get better conversations. The Pacifier, I don't know who's got kids on here, by the way. If you've got kids, sometimes Pacifier is a great way to just get kids to maintain busy. And then finally, we talked about BYO, where you get them to bring in part of the game, get them to do an introduction, get them to run an activity or decision-making or something like that. These are just some rough ideas with a couple of examples underneath. We'll get these worked up. We're gonna send you a link and make sure you have a bit of a summary for this one. But play around with them. They're just bits of stimulus. We're not saying that these are the best ways of doing this, not like we have all the answers, but it's something that works for us, right, Leanne?
Yeah, and I love what Paul has said here. Laziness gives you a chance to observe the group and identify emerging traits, just like a leader in school. So we need to start owning this. And because I think it was, particularly when I was a first-time facilitator, it was all about being in control and being the expert. I keep talking about this on the podcast. Now it's about relinquishing that, being lazy, observing. Love that. We've got some questions. Yuri, you might be able to answer this one about how did you actually create these slides? What tech did you use?
Oh, somebody asked me that. I missed. Okay, cool. So I use Keynote. Keynote is Apple's version of PowerPoint because I hate Microsoft. I hate Microsoft. Anyway, so I use Keynote. I use Pexels, PEXELS.com, which is royalty-free, free stock photos. I scroll around them a little bit because a lot of people take the first top 3 picks. There's some stock photos that look really stock. And I use a bit of creativity to think about kind of how I use images with the stories that I tell. And actually, a little side note on that one is when I used to do lots of speaking for COVID-19, my slides would just be big images with one word, and I would tell a story around them. Whenever clients would go, "Can you send me your slides?" I would send them. They would go, "I think you sent the wrong thing because you just sent pictures." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a storyteller. It just paints a picture. It brings it all to life."
Awesome. We've got some more questions coming through. What we'll do is we've said 43 minutes. So I don't know how on track we are, but we will stay to
10 more
answer
minutes.
questions as well. How many?
We have 10 minutes.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. So we thought while you're here, we'll tell you a bit about this Virtually Possible program. Yuri and I have been talking about it for weeks, sharing behind the scenes. Basically, we're trying to figure out the best program because people keep coming to us and saying, how do you deliver engaging workshop experiences? It's impossible to recreate the energy of an in-person event and take it online. So what we're sort of noticing is that people are sometimes just getting what, and this is what I did, actually, I'm not going to say, I'm not jobbing anyone else in. This is what I did originally. I got whatever I delivered face-to-face and I pretty much slapped a webcam on it. What we're realizing is that it actually requires a lot of redesign and a lot of thought. So putting together this program, it's 28 days of community-led content. What does that mean? It's basically to help transform you from someone who is being asked to deliver virtual workshops, but you want more ideas, you want to know how to really get over those pain points of creating that environment. We want you to start looking more forward to that experience and actually reframing your attitude. So when you're asked to deliver a virtual thing like this, you're actually really excited. You think, oh, wow, this is why I do what I do. We want to get you back feeling that. Yuri, what else can you add to that?
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about that. It's all about that energy, right? So I think a lot of people have taken what they do in the physical world and I've just put a camera on it. And unfortunately, it does not work that way. And the reason I've got such a point of view in this one, because I've been creating YouTube videos for 2.5 years. And I've learned this the hard way. You have about 7 seconds to catch people's attention or they will click away. And I have a feeling it can be a bit like that with your virtual meetings. So people don't engage, they don't turn on the camera, they don't respond, they don't chat, they don't do what you want them to do. And the reality is, guys, let's be honest, if you've got people in a room and the client has paid for you to come in, you kind of have them hijacked because they cannot leave. The reality is online, they can. I can look at this camera right here and meantime be doing something else on another device. That's just the reality. So taking exactly what you do in the physical world, flipping that into online, into virtual, doesn't work. So it needs a rethink. And that's where we got started. It's like, if we use the same rules don't apply anymore, right, Leanne? I mean, we really thought, what can we learn from people on TikTok? We talked about your friend on TikTok who does, tell me about that one, 15-second, what does she do?
She's basically she's got amassed an audience of over 250,000 people, teaching people how to speak confidently in 15-second videos. She's got teachers around the world showing their English students her videos. So she's teaching people through a 15-second video. So I think the assumption is when I'm asked to deliver something, I go straight to, it's going to be a Zoom workshop. And the whole irony, because we wanted to run this on YouTube and show you that you can educate on a live stream, on a broadcast. You can educate through a podcast. You can educate through a WhatsApp group. Yep. We all seem to be running, and our clients are demanding a Zoom or an MS Teams meeting.
Or Skype. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're like, hang on, what's the outcome? Let's not think directly about the tech first. Let's think about what we need to do to design to make that happen. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a Zoom call. Again, we're on a Zoom call right now, which is hilarious. But
so quick interlude over here. Quick interlude. We have Ken who said sold, just sign up. Welcome to the movement, Ken. Absolutely. Building on what Leanne is saying right here is there's so much opportunity and that's what got us so excited. It's like, it isn't hard. It's hard if we stay into that same framework of a meeting has to be like this or a workshop has to be like that. But once you challenge some of the rules, you go, no, it doesn't. I'll give you a simple example. I know people personally who struggle with virtual because before they would have, let's say, an 8-hour workshop. Some of you might have this, a 8-hour workshop. Nobody's going to do an 8-hour Zoom call or Teams call. Nobody does. So can we make it shorter? But then people are like, well, how do I justify my price? Do I now need to charge less? No, you don't. You can get to the same results, but you're not going to get to the same results anymore by going on the same route. You're going to have to go a different route. And that's what this program is.
We've hit a trigger point there. Obviously, Yuri could go on about this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that you cutting me off? That is like literally cutting me off. So tell us a bit more then.
So basically, if you enroll today or tomorrow, it's for $147 US. The price goes up by $100 if you wait till Saturday. So we're going to be enrolling for 2 weeks, but because you're on the call today, you can tell your friends today and tomorrow, $147 US goes up to $247 if you enroll. Program kicks off August the 7th. We're going to open the community. That's hosted on circle.so. Amazing tool. I'm a member of it. We're going to have weekly challenges, wins, sand pit sessions, so we can actually get people in and practice using the tech. And we'll also drip feed out content. No video will go for longer than 10 minutes. We're really excited about it as well. Yeah, great to see you.
It's just little bursts. It's going to be a learning experience and very important. We're going to hear from you. So we want to build this with you as well. We have a lot of content out there, but once we have that initial content out there, we're going to be learning. We're going to be listening to what you're saying. I'm sure there'll be maybe some new technology coming up. We always have a learning mindset. That's why I love working with Leanne, because both of us are almost the opposite of this. I'm the expert, I'm a guru. No, we have a learning mindset. And guess who's going to survive this period better? Is people with a learning mindset, people like you as well. So the call to action is very simple. Sign up to the link. We're going to send you a link with a bit of a summary of what we did here today. We hope you got some ideas out of this. We hope your mind is kind of bubbling with a bit of stimulus and inspiration. Go be lazy and at the same time blow your clients out of the water, because my whole thing here is, and it's a bit sad to say, the bar isn't particularly high yet. And I think there's a lot of space to be better. That's better for you as a business, but also better for these participants that have had to sit through soul crushing online meetings. A friend of mine does them from 9 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. in the evening. There's no need for it. There is no need for it. There's no need to torture people. You can be happy client, happy participant, happy you, and you're going to grow your business.
Yeah. I want to end with that. That was a perfect way to end it. But we've got some great questions that have come through. If you have to leave, that's fine. It's one more minute.
Shall we just stay on? We can stay on a bit. So that was the formal session. And by the way, can I just say, Leanne, within 43 minutes, you know how many meetings go overtime? I read statistically 93% of meetings go overtime. I don't know that, but that's apparently what people do. They just throw out a statistic. We're going to stay on a bit longer.
Yes. So there's
your questions.
Yeah, Rakesh, thank you so much. Suzanne, hey, Susie's actually been, she's a person that goes above and beyond. So she actually came to my house and watched me run a virtual session and took notes. How long per day during the VP program do you think it'll be? So basically what's the format is, 7th of August, we open up the community. That's discussion forums, but really based on deep dive. It's really different to Facebook groups where you have sort of light content. This is like paragraph detail, links, videos, all of that. We got 3 different modules that will drip feed out 1 per week in bite-sized portions so you don't get overwhelmed. So I'm in a community like this at the moment, and how I'm managing my time is every few days, I'll go in and have a look around, contribute, watch a bit of bite-sized course material, but I really plan it on my schedule and I put it into my calendar. You could do it every day if you wanted to, be really enthusiastic. Otherwise, you can just set a timer for yourself to go in and consume the content. But the aim is that at the 8 of 28 days, we're going to have, all of us will transform into the way that we share ideas and perform on these virtual things. So yeah, that's the aim.
Absolutely. So if somebody said, thank you, love the energy, Marie. Hi, Marie Burgess. It's all about energy, honestly. And the way we work like this is we're the same off camera, basically. And that's why I'm so excited about this, because bring that energy to your sessions, bring that love to it. Go the extra mile. Because what's with the extra mile again? Tell me about the extra mile.
Yeah, so it's my most favorite book that I've never read before. It's called It's Never Crowded Along the Extra Mile by Wayne Dyer. I'm a lazy reader. I just read the headline and go, I know what that book's about. But it's my philosophy. And look, I've been really busy this week, and I was really I didn't want to have to drive an hour to get this shirt printed, but I did, because it's worth it. It's always worth going the extra mile. And that's what we want the community to be. People that are like, this is going to take a bit of extra effort. Is it worth it? It's totally worth it. I couldn't wait to hop on this with our shirts today, Yuri.
Exactly. Totally. The extra mile, going where other people aren't going. Do that little bit extra. Bring that bit of yourself to the table. I think that's where it shines. Couple more questions. I want to make sure that I'm respectful. That was that time. Look at that perfect timing.
Ooh,
Shush.
Is that your timer?
That is
Canva
my timer.
does t-shirt printing as well. Oh my gosh, that Australian. I think she's one of the youngest. Is it millionaires or billionaires in Australia? Oh, she's top 10. The girl that invented
Canva.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending. If you've got to go, we'll see you later. There was a question though from Daniela. I'd love to throw to you, Yuri, as well, because it was about cultural differences.
Yes, I was going to talk about that one exactly.
I mean, certainly last year I went to Hong Kong where it was very quiet. Then I went to India where it was really like great participation. And there's certain things that you can do. Yuri, I'll throw to you.
The question, I wrote it down here to make sure we have it. How do you handle cultural differences? I imagine certain cultures are less inclined to be active. Yes, they are. I lived in China for 15 years. I facilitate innovation projects, and I facilitate in Mandarin and in German and in Dutch and English. So I facilitate in different languages. A lot of the cultural differences, I'd say 50% of cultural differences are not cultural, first of all. I think their personality, I think it's a combination of people a bit more introverted, extroverted, maybe age, maybe, position in business, outlook on life, values, all those things added up. I think a lot of that makes people a bit different. Part of it is cultural. I don't think all of it is cultural. So that's kind of my first premise over here. When it comes to facilitating people from other cultures, yes, for instance, it's more likely, I'm going to generalize, if there are any people from the US or from Europe, it's more likely that somebody from Europe or the US will be more outspoken from a culture where debating is okay, where particularly if you're Dutch, the Dutch have zero respect for authority, just so you know. So we'll happily have a conversation with the CEO to the most junior intern, and we'll probably have that with the same level of intensity because we're like, well, it's just a conversation. In China, you probably wouldn't do that because hierarchy is a bigger thing. So just being aware of culture, I think, is the first one. The card I usually play is, I don't know enough about your culture. Why don't you help me understand? So rather than having any preconceived notions, just being, I did Top Gun virtually. I need to talk about that one. So basically being aware that you don't know and just being open to that one and asking more questions. And by doing that a lot, you're going to learn about cultural differences and how people respond differently. And I think that my last one is, once you've learned a lot, you can mitigate against that. So this whole pass on the teddy bear thing is perfect in China. The last thing you want to do is put one person on the spot and say, you, Leanne, can you get up and share your ideas? That's really scary. But if amongst peers they do it, that's okay. And you have to you have to kind of loosen them up a bit, and they will speak up. If they're still having a hard time speaking up, put them in groups, get them to discuss in groups, and then say, together, give me an answer. That's keeping it in the safety of the group. There's a whole kinds of things around culture, but the first one is kind of set yourself up. Understand there is a difference. Set yourself up as in, I want to learn. And once you learn a couple of things, you can mitigate against them.
Yeah, and look,
this is like a whole chapter in itself.
It is. It's a whole module. But I'd even take that example of cultural differences. I think Catherine raised it before in chat, even in the number of people that are jumping on your call. So the more people, I mean, the less someone's going to talk, because it's like you're talking in front of 100 people. And so, I mean, all these considerations come back when it comes to designing. Do you push back to the client and say, no, we need smaller groups? Or there's a lot of influencing that's involved with this, and not just being an order taker for what your client, whether that's internal or external, what they want. You're really thinking about you being the expert and then having the confidence to influence back.
Yeah. And we talked about that on your podcast, right? Don't let your clients, don't let your clients dictate.
No, it was, you've got to bully your clients. That's what you said.
Yeah, you got to bully your clients a bit, but particularly with these virtual calls, it's too easy for people to jump on, not contribute anything, turn their camera off, turn their sound off. Then why are they there? So
Yeah.
Don't just let people, you decide what works for you in whatever context.
We'll go
So,
one or two more questions.
sorry, what's the Top Gun thing?
Oh,
Oh my goodness, Nicholas, you did Top Gun
Nicholas came in,
virtually?
was a guest on my podcast, and he told me about the most X Factor thing he did. This was in, I think it was in Sydney at a conference.
Yeah.
You know that song? You're a good singer. You've lost that
No,
love and feeling. Can you sing it for us?
no,
Please.
I can't. No, I can't.
Well, he got a group of like, I don't know, all these grown men up singing that song, and just brought a massive, it's a great story that he told. And it looks like he hasn't stopped. He's taking it online as well. Amazing, Nicholas. Great to hear that.
Nice.
The lights in the background.
You want to go for that one?
The only reason I did it is because I want to be like you, Yuri, when I grow up.
This is a fancy schmancy light. This is the Luminate Corner Glow. LLUMIN8 Corner Glow. It's just a light. It's just a little thing which I use. So to give you an example, I have a light here. Being well lit is very important. By the way, that's part of the Virtual Possible course. Getting better at lighting. So I've got a light over here, basically making sure you're well lit. And again, at a very simple level, it just makes the video look a lot better.
Yeah, and I think for me, I've got a sausage dog in the background. So that really builds up connection. People are like, oh, wow, you're interested in dogs, or we can talk about Quincy all we like. It sets that conversation up. So that's why I got the sausage dog light. Karina, any advice on microphones? Yuri he loves an Australian company called Rode. He can talk about that. The microphone, if you want, this is my podcasting microphone, by the way, super cheap, $80 Australian, which is like 50 US. The ATR 2100. So I've got two of these. I just bought a $2 foam thing off eBay, and it's been incredible. It hasn't let me down. I love it. USB, but you can also plug into auxiliary cables if you want to take it and do digital recording. Yeah, thank you.
Nice. So basically there are many different many different microphones. Pick one that works for you. You can get anything secondhand, $30, or you can break the bank and go hundreds of dollars, but don't need to spend that much money.
Awesome. Well, loving this. Any more? Okay, one more question if it pops through. Hopefully we didn't miss any.
Background.
But this is what we really want in the community, is like have these questions thrown out, members of the community from all around the world that are passionate about it to respond.
There's one question I see here. Thoughts between standing or sitting when delivering. My laptop is broken. That's why I'm at a desktop. Yeah. I prefer to stand. Leanne is standing. It is a different energy. For all my YouTube videos, I stand for that reason, because it's a different energy. Leanne?
Yeah, it depends on the length of time. Use contrast as well. That's one way you can contrast it, is you open standing, then you might be sitting if you're doing more reflective work with the group. So consider that. I enjoy standing. Obviously, I'm a bit too tall for what I've set up now. I'm noticing that I need to I'm 5'11". Not many people know that about me.
Exactly, because we've never met.
Richard, great to see you.
I've only seen Leanne like this, so I have no idea how tall
we've never
she
met.
is.
We've known each other for 5 weeks. Here we are collaborating.
I'm actually short compared to other Dutch people. I'm below average. I'm 181, which in my country is below average.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Do you have recommendations for features to look out for in a computer, laptop for virtual? Eileen, you're speaking to both MacBook people. Look, I did it. Yeah, I'm Team Apple all the way. The watch. Yuri, you're more techie than I am.
Honestly, I think most computers now are fine. Doesn't matter whether, again, I don't like Microsoft as personal because I do more video editing. I think they're all pretty good nowadays. I don't think you can go wrong. I think I would actually, let's put it like this. I would, if you want to invest in something, assuming you've got a fast internet connection, it's something that we can't do anything about. There are parts of the world where internet connection is a challenge. I wouldn't worry too much about your laptop and stuff like that. I would play more with learning more about lighting, making sure that you are well lit. And I'll give you an example. Yeah, that's already a lot darker. If I turn on these lights, now you get into that weird auto exposure thing. So by having some nicer lights around you, that's how you up the game, and having a better microphone. That microphone does really make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree with audio. I think that's why we have Zoom fatigue, is because we're trying to process all of these mechanical sounds. So the clearer and crisper you can sound with your microphone, that will help battle that Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
Nicholas, thanks for coming through with the win there on the PC front. That's awesome.
Should we?
Right.
You think we're gonna sell these shirts one day? Like one day, people will be like, and they changed my life, and then this will be at some auction. These shirts will be at an auction, and people only want to buy them in, like together. Maybe we should already start.
This is just a behind the scenes look of what we talk about. We're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if, but it's fun. It makes it really fun.
We should get some swag. I'm thinking ahead right now.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay, people. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Time is the only resource you have in your life. You decided to spend it here with us. Hope we made it worthwhile for you. Looking forward to seeing some of you on the journey. And we're going to get back to you with some of these ideas you can take forward and play with it. See where it takes you.
Thank you so much for everyone for your contribution, for coming along to multiple channels, for getting onto YouTube and then coming over here. We really appreciate that. We appreciate your questions, your involvement, and for getting us to step up and try something different with this program as well. I hope you found it useful. And yeah, have an awesome evening, morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Rock on.
We've got to do our spirit finger wave, Yuri.
Oh yeah, people always wave on Zoom calls. You gonna hang up? Are you hanging up?
I am, unfortunately. Bye, everyone.
So I hope you enjoyed that session. It was lovely to work with Leanne on this. We are very similar in certain areas, very different in other ways. And I think it's us really leading by example. This is what digital or virtual collaborations could look like. And I think it's a good opportunity for you as well to reach out to people around you now that we're in this situation and find ways to work together or grow together or learn together. And this is a great example for that one. I will leave a link below in the description. You can learn more about Virtually Possible, or you can even sign up if this is something for you. We would love to have you. In the meantime, you can also check out these videos, which are all about engaging people in virtual meetings and virtual workshops. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you taking the time, and I'll see you here next time.